Happy New Year and welcome to Season 6 of Beer in Front. This is Beer in Front, part of the Odd Pods Media Network. Sometimes the beer in front of you is the best one yet. I'll talk about some old school beers that maybe you've forgotten about, some new beers that have the potential to be a classic. I'll also talk to various people around the beer world and get their stories all about beer. That's Beer in Front, and it's coming up now. Happy New Year and welcome to the January 2nd edition of Beer in Front. I'm your host, Dave Zalatoris, and Beer in Front is a proud Odd Pods Media Network member. In 2024, I'm participating in Dry January for the first time. I was inspired to try this after talking with Joe and Matt over at Go Brewing. I've talked with Joe before on the podcast back in August, and I really enjoy their different beers, so I figure now is as good a time as any to do this. I tried maybe 6 years ago. I tried it for a week, and that was difficult, but the choices with non-alcoholic beverages back then, they pale in comparison to what you could enjoy now. So I feel with the tools available to me, I've got this. I'm doing this for many reasons, mostly for my weight and health. Since the pandemic and the start of the podcast, I put on 40 pounds, and it's time for that to go away. When I injured my back in August, I haven't been as active as I'd like to, which it's understandable, but it's still not an excuse, so that's all on me. I've had some epidural injections in my back last week, so hopefully that's going to kick in soon, and I could be more active to help me drop this weight. If not, between the beer and diet, I'll be more cognizant about my health and weight. I hit the scale, took a body pic on January 1st, but if you want to see that, you're going to have to sign up for OnlyFans or something. You're not getting that for free. I'm going to update the weekly loss here on the podcast and on the website beerinfront.com. I'm also tracking my sleep to see the improvement before and after, so I'll let you know how that's coming along as well. I'm confident that I'm going to drop the weight and be healthier because I did it before. In 2018, I dropped an easy 30 pounds, looked and felt better, so while it might be a little harder now since I'm older and my side hustle is beer, but it's going to happen. I'm still going to talk about the beer world and different beers out there. I just won't be having as many of them. I did some recording the last week of December, so I have a couple beers segments recorded. So throughout the month, I'll still be talking about the beer that's in front of me. I'm really proud of the interview with Joe and Matt, so stay tuned for that in a couple minutes. Thanks for listening to me ramble on. To find out more on my journey in Dry January, check out beerinfront.com. In beer news this week, Jim Beam is coming out with a new line of Kentucky Cooler Lemonade. They're going to have two flavors, black cherry and blueberry. These are going to check in at 5% alcohol and will be made by the people over at Boston Beer. So look for that. They should be coming out this year. Goose Island's Bourbon County brand stout had a 47% sales drop for a similar 4-week period from last year. Mariano's, which is an Illinois grocery store chain, they already have all of it marked down 50%. So if you didn't grab any on Black Friday, now is your chance. I'd be pissed if I dropped a ton of money on it to see it marked down by half 5 weeks later. Snoop is coming out with a line of cannabis beverages. Texas-based Hill Beverage will make the product under Snoop's name along with Death Row Records. Prices are going to be between $5 and $6 a can. And once again, the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild is having a contest called My Beer Fridge. Each week, they'll be giving out a $50 gift card to an Illinois brewery. Head over to the Guild's Instagram page for more details.
I'm Richie, aka Midnight Agent Raw.
I'm Devin, aka Special Delivery Dev.
We're the Super Media Bros podcast. And each week, we give a comedically informative take on movies,
Music,
television,
pro wrestling,
and much more. Check us out at supermediabrospodcast.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else that you can listen to podcasts. Shades on.
We're off.
Be sure to catch the latest from Super Media Bros wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey, you there. We've got a question for you. Are you tired of clickbait stories and the loudest voices driving discussions in culture and entertainment?
If so, I'm Dylan.
I'm Kendall.
And I'm Corey. And we host the podcast From the Middle. We're middle-class guys living in the middle of America, in the middle chapters of our lives with points of view somewhere in the middle.
We take a more reasonable and centrist approach in our discussions covering genres like comedy, culture, entertainment, and interviews with really interesting folks like business owners, comic creators, doctors, news anchors, New York Times best-selling illustrators, professional stand-up comics, and more. We really value a relaxed and conversational podcast, one that we hope is so fun and laid back, you'll forget you're not actually hanging out with us.
So search at From the Mid Pod, just like it sounds, or check us out everywhere you can find podcasts.
When you're done listening to this show, head over to From the Middle and check them out. Always a great show.
Hey, I'm Pantsless Aaron.
This is Stevie.
And I'm Augie.
And we are BFYTW, a podcast all about playing games and having fun. Our games are usually based on British panel shows and game shows, but we'll play anything that captures our attention and imagination. Why? It's right there in the title.
You'll never guess what the F stands for.
Before we get to the interview, since Joe was on before, I didn't want to do the whole Batman origin story again. Go back to August and listen to the Go Brewing episode if you want to find out more details on how they got started and the brewery itself. All right, welcome back. Many people take time off from beer or alcohol after the holidays and participate in Dry January. In 2024, there are many more choices out there than just even a few years ago. Go Brewing opened in Naperville, Illinois at 1655 Quincy, and while I haven't tried every NA brand out there, I've tried a lot, and in my opinion, Go is the best one out there. Joining me is Joe and Matt. Joe is the president and founder of Go Brewing. Matt is the head of sales.
Yeah,
all right, Matt is the head of sales. Joe is on with head brewer James back in August. This time, I'm at the brewery. Gentlemen, thanks for taking time out to talk today.
Our pleasure. Yeah, thanks for stopping in and say hello again.
Before we get started, this place is outstanding. What a great tap room. You guys have everything here, inside and out. Great job on the tap room.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really important for us to invest a lot in a local experience for people, and looking at the tap rooms around here, wanted to differentiate ourselves with the ability to have music and a nice stage, and also not only have really good selection of NA beers on tap, but have some of the best some of the best alcoholic beers that are in the Chicago area as well.
Yeah, I saw you had Hop Butcher, you have Solemn Oath, which is right across the parking lot here.
Yeah.
So just a great selection.
Yep.
Revolution. The best tap room is nothing without the beer. You could have the greatest place in the world, but if the beer's not good, no one's coming in. But the beer part is really dialed in. I've talked before on social media, I believe we've talked, that the New School Sour, of all the ones that I've had, I'd have to say that's been my favorite so far. I see you have like a holiday version of that. How have those been selling?
The holiday version's off to a great start.
Really?
It's just
Cool.
wrapping up. We're going to run out of it right in time for the new year.
Okay.
We'll do more of those pilot batches. We really use that to experiment on DTC, so direct to consumer. Our traditional wholesale distribution partners aren't going to carry all of our releases, right?
All right,
As we build up a core. But we brought in some festivals. Euclid, our partner here in the Naperville area, has a little bit of distribution in some of their better retailers. But yeah, the sour family continues to grow. And Joe likes to tell this. I'll steal a story from him, but during the summer and the Key Festival period, we were challenging consumers to blind test ours versus a traditional leaded sour. And that one had the highest rate. New School Berry, it was about 50-50. Experienced beer drinkers getting it wrong. Saying, this one's got alcohol, and it was ours, and it didn't, or vice versa.
Yeah, that one, I mean, when I first had it, I picked it up, I think it was in bottles and cans in the city. And, that was after I talked to you before. So I'm like, all right, I see they got a new one. Let me try this. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's good. I gave some to my wife who likes sours. And then even, talking with like various people about NA beers and Go, I'm like, you got to try this one. So I gave a couple away to like my friends and even my coworkers. I'm like, oh no, you could drink this here in the lunchroom. It's not alcoholic. And they were like, where can I get this at? So yeah, I think once people try it, they're in.
Yeah, the ginger version, the holiday blend, is just perfect for the season. It's a winter warmer, and the blended fruit and spices really came out nicely.
There's cranberry in it, orange. It's actually one of my favorite beers that we've ever made. I absolutely love it. You should definitely try it.
Okay.
I don't know if you've had it yet.
No, I haven't had that one yet.
I should have some in here. All right, we'll make sure you have some because to Matt's point, we're running out. And that's the cool thing, though. We are able to think of a style, launch it within a month, and then test it, see how it does on market, because we're able to have not just a sample in our tap room, we're able to really sell it across the U.S.
Yeah.
So as I was telling you earlier, we had more sales last month on our website in California than we did in Illinois, which is pretty cool. So,
yeah. Are you going to do like different variants of that throughout the year, like maybe a spring one, a summer one, and you keep the berry one? But
so so we have Matt has done a really good job, having been in this space for a long time, looking ahead at seasonal beers, and the sour is going to be its own seasonal beer. So we'll have a variation of that sour 3 to 4 times a year. Last year we also had last year, I should say this year.
Yeah.
When this comes out, maybe it'll be last year.
Yeah, this is coming out January 2nd.
Okay, perfect. So we'll have the guava. We had the guava sour,
right,
which was a fan favorite as well. So it seems like we really do a good job with the sours. Full credit to our brewers. Definitely not me. But it's it's a lot of fun. And to your point, that's the one that I would give to people for 2 reasons. One, if someone says they don't like beer, that's actually a really good one to have them try.
Yeah.
And then secondly, it's one that you really can't tell that there's not alcohol in it.
Yeah. Like the one I'm having now that you poured is the grapefruit IPA. This is bringing you back 10 years ago when grapefruit IPAs were
the Sculpin days.
Yeah, Sculpin, and everybody had a grapefruit IPA. But no, this one's really good. You have two, an IPA and a pale.
Yeah, I mean, truth be told, we were making our grapefruit IPA, and our young brewery is, we don't get it right all the time, but there was nothing wrong with the beer. It tasted great. It just wasn't our grapefruit IPA. So we're like, what can we do differently with this beer? Salvage it, and it allowed us to create a beta grapefruit. So we're probably not going to have that one again.
Okay.
But it was a really good one to test, and it was a little bit lighter. It ended up being more of an ale.
Okay. But yeah, no, the grapefruit IPA, if you remember the Sculpin days and all of that, when everybody, who was it? Sam Adams had their Rebel IPA grapefruit, and I think everyone was putting it out. This one here, this is what called Jib Jab?
Jab Jab.
Okay, the grapefruit IPA, top notch. This is one you need to pick up as well. You have, according to the website, and I looked at it last week, you have like 14 different beers in cans right now?
We do, yeah. We're always rotating in and out of the beers. We have some core styles, and then we have some experimental beers always. But yeah, there's about 14.
Okay, and are all of those available on tap or?
So what we're doing now is we'll make 1 to 2 kegs of all of our beers.
Okay.
And once it's gone, it's gone. So they rotate out. Not all of them are available today. Most are, but some, if we have cans left, we'll sell the cans in our tap room as well.
Okay, cool. When I first started drinking NA beers years ago, and maybe it's just me or maybe it's a lot of people, my initial thought process was to compare it to a regular beer, which it's not fair. It's not fair to the NA brewery. It's not fair to the regular brewery. How do you get people to change that mindset and just appreciate what's in the glass? Like this grapefruit IPA, phenomenal. But how do you get people to change that mindset where, this isn't a Sierra Nevada pale ale. This is just a really good pale ale that happens to be non-alcoholic.
A loaded question, but a great question. I think Joe pointed at me that I'll give you my personal experience with the audience of one, but I think first and foremost, the comparison being unfair is alcohol, ethanol has a taste to it, right?
Yeah.
It impacts your taste buds, the way your body processes it. So it's really about how do you overcome that expectation of that. And we are finding more and more consumers gravitating towards the category for a variety of reasons. And Joe's really good at capturing this data, and we're learning more about our customer base, and now we have to educate. And that coincides with making better beer. There was a time in craft beer, called 20 years ago, where the tides really started to rise really quickly. And everyone was just kind of making better beer simultaneously. And the craft industry was sharing secrets and recipes and hop contracts. And here's what we learned about how this yeast interacts with this hop. And that's kind of happening in A right now.
Okay.
It's a much smaller community. And, we all have our processes and certainly don't want to share everything, but we know that a rising tide will raise all ships.
Absolutely.
And we're making better beer today than we did yesterday. And so are our peers. And that's a lot of people's first experience with NA versus our father's NA, which was, not to be disparaging of O'Doul's or the core domestic products, but they're kind of bland and less flavorful, right? So I have a working theory that there's a generation my age in mid-30s and mid-40s that are exiting they're starting a new chapter in their life, whether it be parenthood, they're making wellness changes, and we grew up on craft beer. And now when we want to find ways to balance our relationship with alcohol, but still find those flavors, these great NA craft breweries like ourselves are popping up, and it tricks your brain because you don't have to be sober. You can reduce your consumption by finding these great flavors like you just did with that grapefruit IPA. And then you start to realize you don't need the alcohol, and you can enjoy it with food and all the ways traditional beer is magic. So is NA. So we definitely have an education component to bring people into the category, but quality, discipline. We're not de-alking. We're not contract brewing, right? You saw our lab in house here. So putting out world-class product, which the craft consumer has come to expect, the days of having inconsistent flavor profiles are long gone. So we hold ourselves to a similar standard. And I think that as the world changes, our consumer base will continue to grow.
Even now, national brands are coming out with NA products where even Sierra Nevada, they're rolling out one. I think nationally it'll come out this month in January, which I kind of see is like in the long run, good for companies like Go, where like in the beer world, people will try something and then, I want to gravitate towards local. How do you see the national companies coming out with more NA products?
Yeah, I think to your point, it's a really positive thing. What we wanted to do early on is be known for just non-alcoholic beers. So, when you see our logo in the aisle at any grocery store, and you check us out online, any product that you buy from us is going to be non-alcoholic.
Yeah.
And that allows us to create a wide spectrum of beers where people also know that it's high quality. There's natural ingredients in there. If a beer, let's say it's made with German hops, like we use those same hops, so we don't modify anything. And I think because of that, and the beers that we've made thus far, our name is associated with good quality NA. So the more that people can try an NA product of a brand they love, and now they're thinking that, hey, NA beer isn't that bad, they'll see Go Brewing and associate that with a good quality NA, and you can try a wide variety of beers.
Yeah, I mean, you have everything from Pilsners to the IPA we just discussed. The one I'm going to have now is your stout.
Yeah, that's our donut stout beer. It's not even out yet. So you're special. You're the first one tasting it.
Right, right off
very
the
good.
bright. I haven't even tried that.
Yeah.
yet.
I mean, it smells really good.
While you taste that, I'll add a little bit of color to what Joe was saying too. Like the national brands playing in the space is absolutely a good thing, right? I'll echo it because our category is under indexed. It's one of the fastest growing categories in adult beverage, and it's one of the smallest segments as far as shelf space is considered in adult beverage. So there's this massive growth happening, and as those guys come to play in the category, it validates it. And what we're seeing from national account buyers is a willingness to expand that category for the first time in a long time. So it's nice to have them play in the space as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to trying the Sierra Nevada one because everything Sierra's put out for 40 years has been, phenomenal. So I'm assuming they're going to do a great job on that. So I know when that rolls out, I'll definitely have to try it because I've read good things about. I think they're going to do a golden and an IPA.
Yeah.
So be interesting to try it.
100%.
Yeah, this stout's really good. Now, you said you're going to add maple to this down the road once it's done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So we're going to add some maple to it. Obviously, we have to carb it up
Yeah.
a bit. But yeah, it has really good flavor.
I mean, the roasted malt on this is phenomenal. This tastes really good. So when this comes out, you need to grab yourself the donut stout. This is
It's going to
excellent.
be called Donut Kill My Vibe.
Donut Kill My.
Yeah.
My dog has that shirt. It says,
Really?
yeah, Donut Kill My Vibe.
It's cool. Yeah, that was a contest we had, a naming contest. So yeah, a lot of fun.
I noticed, like, walking through it on the website, you have an electrolyte water. Hop waters now seem to be all the rage. Is that something you're going to have down the road to further, enhance your brand in the NA world?
It's possible. We're not, we don't like to follow trends.
Yeah.
We like to get in front of them a bit, and it feels saturated with hot water. That doesn't mean we're not going to make one. Electrolyte water and functional water is something where I could see us doing more of, like flavored electrolyte beverage.
Okay.
That maybe has like a beer component. We also have a gluten-free beer with adaptogens coming out next week. So I have ashwagandha in it and L-theanine. So those are properties that will help you relax. So it actually has a functional component. So, so I think because we're at A, we can have the liberty to try to do other things. And that beer that I'm talking about is going to be called our Freedom Amber. And it's going to be a gluten-free beer as well. So that's something that's really taken off for us. We didn't even realize this when we started making them, but we'll have now 2 beers crafted without gluten. And there's not many non-alcoholic breweries that are making them crafted without gluten, actually not using barley. So we don't use barley at all.
All right.
So it's truly made without any gluten ingredients.
Now, the first one, that was Freedom Cali Pale?
Freedom Cali,
I think I had that when I talked to you last time in August.
Yep.
We were talking before, and I heard you on Rod J. You were mentioning, handing people samples of the sour. Is that something you're going to do further on down the road, hitting more festivals this year in 2024? Do you do, like, tastings in grocery stores or bottle shops?
We'll be, if you're in the Chicagoland area, if you're listening to this, I assume you're close by, but we'll have multiple samplings of every Binny's in the Chicagoland area throughout the month of January. We have a great partner out in Ohio, Giant Eagle, who's launching our brand, and there'll be samplings in 35 stores in the northern Ohio area. We just got approved for Great Taste in Midwest in Madison next year, which will be awesome. Beer and Cheese Festival in Wisconsin, a few others. So we're actively finding our niche where we make the most sense and where we don't. Like, we've kind of found out, like, we thought we were going to play really nice at golf events and stuff. That's not so much. People are there for a reason on a Friday afternoon when they're getting off of work. But we are definitely finding the festival goer at Traditional Beer Fest is seeking us out. And we're having great feedback. And then we'll look to activate some larger partnerships and get into some of the music festivals and sponsored events as well.
Yeah, I think with, like, Beer Fest, a lot of people just go in there and they're like, all right, I've got 2 hours. I'm going to pound down everything I can. Yeah. I think having you there would be good. Oh, okay, good. I could take a little break for a second.
Well, at the very end, they come to us. They swarm, for sure. So, those can be polarizing for sure. Like initially, when people are coming by you, in my experience, some folks will look at you as if they're sober and you're trying to feed them alcoholic beer, and they're like, "Get away from me with that!" And I'm like, "You're going to be perfectly fine."
Yeah.
But at the very end of those fests, were really popular. I can say that.
Yeah, even at Fobab, which you wouldn't think. I know they had Revolution did a hot water lounge, and they had a lager spot that the lines in there were just as long as they were for some of the barrel.
They're full of brewers.
Yeah.
They're full of all the brewers drinking lagers. But we're starting to see events with the reputation of Fobab, like one of the most anticipated events of the year in the beer world, start to investigate a non-alcoholic category.
Yeah.
And we were a little early to investigate it this year, but there's opportunity down the road to contribute in a major way to those, and have an area where consumers who are looking to moderate have an option there.
Well, that was going to be one of my later questions, but since you brought it up, the brewing techniques have grown leaps and bounds for an NA beer just in the last couple of years, and the different yeast strains that are out there that you can use. Do you see something like being able to do a barrel age that's non-alcoholic while you still have those, barrel notes in the beer?
Yeah, 100%. We tried. We were gonna this year. We just ran out of time, honestly. But it's absolutely possible. I think for something like that, de-alking is a good method, and we don't use that method today. So it'd be fun to experiment with that as one of our first de-alkalized beers.
Okay,
but we don't have any concrete plans. It's aspirational that we get it done in 24.
All right,
but with our growth, I don't know that we're going to be able to squeeze it in this year.
Yeah.
Are there any other trends that you see, or like what do you have coming up this year that's going to be different?
Joe talked about the seasonal sour release, so that'll continue to let us explore that new school line. Spoiler alert, guava will come back in the spring, and we'll work on a variation for the summer because berry is in the full-time rotation, so you can find that. We'll be at Mariano's in January.
Oh, cool.
We're in Benny's right now, so that is a grocery brand, kind of one of our core brands.
Our double IPA is huge for us. So that is a beer that is hard to tell that there's not alcohol in it, and many people have it. They gravitated to it. There's a lot of like phenomenal Facebook groups and organizations that are they strictly just talk about non-alcoholic beer, and I could tell you that beer is among the most acclaimed beer that we have, and that's on the market, period. And I think it's because it's just so flavorful, hop forward. We use Citra, Mosaic, Sultana hops in there.
Same as everyone else uses.
Same as everyone else, and it tastes like a regular beer. And this was an example of a beer that we just wanted to do a test on. So we talked to a retailer that specializes just in non-alcoholic beer, non-alcoholic beverages. They have a NA bottle shop, and we asked them, we're like, what's selling? And they told us double IPAs fly off the shelf. So we decided to make one, and within a couple of weeks it was sold out. And we're like, we have something here. And we haven't been able to keep it in stock, but that's a great example of us being able to do a test. And now that beer is going to be sold in Ohio and market, in Chicago pretty soon here, Wisconsin. So it's that direct to consumer route's just a really good way to test the market.
So you pair the double IPA with an expanded sour line, the Freedom Adaptogen, the Freedom Growth line, and then we released some seasonals this year. We did it at first Oktoberfest.
Yeah, I saw that.
It sold out in like 4 days. So we're building into a fully functional seasonal lineup, which will allow us some innovation and some surprises along the way. And then we're never sleeping. So we carved out a little bit of space in our forecast just strictly for innovation and let our brewers do what our brewers do. So it's a lot. We have a lot cooking.
Cool. All right, next up I'm having Head On American Wheat. This is with orange peel. I think this is really good. Can you guys tell everyone a little bit about the Head On?
Fair away.
That was one of our first 5 beers that we came out with. It used to be a wheat beer, and we decided to make it into a wheat beer, just modifying the ingredients. But you can see that it has like really nice head to it. It has still a little bit flavors of the orange peel in it. And it's just a really solid beer.
Yeah, that's another one. It's just outstanding. Like, I saw on the website you do like you have like holiday sample packs and I think one for dry January.
Yeah.
Do you normally do like a variety mix pack that you sell, whether it's here at gobrewing.com or nationally?
Not really on our website unless it's part of a sample pack. Like
Okay.
like Sober October, we did one. We did an Advent calendar beer. We're going to do a dry January bundle. For a few reasons, it's hard for fulfillment to just keep it going.
Yeah.
Secondly, we're typically running out of something within there, just trying to predict volume because we have so many sales channels. We have Amazon, we have our beer club, which we have about 500 members in today that get recurring memberships. We have the online website, we have online wholesale, and then of course we have regular wholesale.
Yeah, the consistency of a mix pack is better found on some of our partners, like Amazon has a really nice selection that you can try multiple styles if you're outside the Chicagoland area. But Head On is usually found in those because it offers wonderful variety and it's a fan favorite, and it comes in at like 30 calories.
Yeah. So you would never know it's NA. You would never know it's 30 calories because it has a great mouthfeel to it as well. It's not like drinking some watered down light beer. This is really flavorful.
I won't tell the story on that beer because I don't know it as well as Joe does, but this is one of the stories. All our beers are named after an inspiring person, human being, and the story behind Head On's really cool. So if you go to the website, look at Head On and read the story. It'll give you a little bit of the inspiration behind it.
Yeah, it's named after a lady named Amy Purdy. She had a brain disease when she was 19 years old, meningitis, and perfectly healthy young lady just woke up and she was pretty much paralyzed. They had to amputate her legs. She had since went on, was on Dancing with the Stars. I think she ended up winning it or was runner-up.
She was runner-up.
And she competed in the Olympics as a snowboarder as well. So it's like Head On has a lot of different meanings, but one is just when you have adversity in your life and you have challenges, it's like head on. Like there's sometimes, when I'm skiing and I'm going down that black diamond for the first time, I look down and I'm just like, hey, there's no way out but through. And that's exactly kind of Amy's philosophy in life and something we respected. So we decided to devote a beer and inspired by her.
Well, did a great job. You mentioned dry January. We're talking about mix packs. This episode comes out on January 2nd. What advice do you have to anyone that's going to participate in dry January, especially for the first time?
Yeah, I have a lot of tips. In fact, you can go to our website and on the homepage, you'll be able to click to get the dry January tips by the time this episode comes out. Honestly, the first thing, a little self-serving, but it's very, very true. Think about NA beer is not only a beverage to enjoy, but a tool for your toolbox. You're going to have massive cravings. Your body, if you're anything like me, and I know Matt as well, we've been drinking for decades at this point. So the 5 o'clock craving is real. It's your body's conditioned to wanting alcohol. Your body's conditioned to the reward at the end of a work week.
Yeah.
So when those cravings come, just because you're in a challenge doesn't mean they're going to go away. You having a tool like a non-alcoholic beer is really important. So make sure you stock up on our beer, but also take this time to look at all the amazing NA options out there. There's a lot of cool mocktail type drinks. There's neat stuff in a can. I can make a margarita that gets 98% there. And that's non-alcoholic. So that's one. Two, I would replace the habit of not drinking with something that's positive. So one habit, many times we start the year, we have this huge list and we want to do meditation, cold baths and saunas, and we're going to do all these things, right? And the problem with that is you put so much on yourself that if you start missing some of those things you wanted to do, you feel like you're failing, and then you throw the towel on everything. So my philosophy is pick one positive habit, whether it's working out or eating healthy, whatever it is, and just start to tether the habit of not drinking with this positive habit.
Okay.
So that's me is huge. And then I think 3, get something on your calendar. for me, I know that I'm going to have a race March 2nd, and every day I'm motivated to work out because I want to be prepared for that race. You know, if you don't have something on the calendar, it's kind of hard to be motivated.
Yeah. You talked about the mocktails and everything else. So you advise people, obviously, to drink Go Brewing, but that wouldn't be like a hindrance to somebody? Like, it's so close to tasting like real, like maybe stick with something else?
That's the whole point of it. So,
Yeah.
so 30% of our customer base is sober.
Okay.
So take a hint from them that like you're able to now consume great NA options, which is why this category is popular, is because you're not missing a lot anymore.
Yeah.
Because if you like the taste of beer, you like that flavor that you're filling this void in your life by having a beer, like you're not sacrificing taste. In fact, like to your earlier question on people gravitating toward the taste of NA beer, and it's not really fair because you're comparing it to an alcoholic beer. The reality is like the flavor profile, I think many people are changing to something a little lighter. Like we went through days of like real heavy, hazy IPAs that I used to love. I used to have 3 or 4 of them. Now I drink half of one and I'm like, oh my God, I feel full. I feel bloated. So that's why I think people are gravitating more toward lagers. Well, if you think about that trend, NA beers are just a little lighter.
Yeah.
And to Matt's point earlier, many people don't realize that alcohol has 7 calories per gram. So to put that in perspective, everyone knows that fat has 4 calories per gram, protein has 4 calories. Fat has 7, carbs have 4, protein has 4 calories per gram. So you're getting a lot of wasted calories when you're drinking alcohol. I'm not saying that's bad, but it's a fact, right? So the other fallacy is, just to touch on it, not to go on a tangent, when something says like low carb, like if it's a Michelob Ultra, it has low carbs, but the calories you're getting from alcohol are far worse than the calories you're getting from carbohydrates. But they could say low carbs, but they don't say like, but all the calories in here are coming from alcohol themselves. So it's one of these things where we highly suggest that use it as a tool to curb your craving, because it's not going to go away.
Yeah.
I wasn't on a mission of sobriety when I came to Go. I was actively reducing my consumption, and before I even knew I was going to work here, or Joe and I had just met a few times, I drunk the beer in the bar here and was astonished by it. Joe could tell you it's a very real story. He was asking my opinion. I was dumbfounded at the quality, and I left that day with beer. I brought beer home, and for me, that's where it started. I put that beer in my fridge, and now I had 12 NA beers in there. And the Tuesday with the neighbors, hey, you want to come out? We got a bonfire going. Kids are out. Instead of grabbing 2 leaded beverages, I brought 2 cold beers over and drank those and didn't miss anything. I didn't miss the socialization. I reduced those calories, and those dominoes started to fall on each other. And before I knew it, that just had become my common practice. When I was reaching for the flavor, I was having dinner and I wanted a beer because I was conditioned to it. Those became cold brews or other NAs, and my consumption is down probably 95%. I'm not sober to this day, but my consumption is dramatically reduced, and it starts with just having them in your fridge. And then you can make those healthier choices. And to Joe's point, not everybody's going to go run a marathon, or not everyone's going to take a dramatic diet on top of quitting drinking. Wake up 30 minutes earlier because you don't have that alcohol in your system. You're going to get better REM sleep. You're going to sleep better. Get 30 minutes to wake up and start your day. And all of a sudden that stuff that compounds, and those behaviors, you'll find rewards for it because you just have more time in your day and more energy for the things in your life. So it's changed my life, and it wasn't through a challenge, but
And if you haven't already, compare before you do dry January. I know it's come out dry January, but chances are people have some sort of fitness device like Apple Watch or a Garmin or Oura or Whoop. It's clear now that what happens when you're sleeping and you have alcohol in your system versus not, right? Like it's very clear. But if you haven't tested that, test it. The other thing I'll say is, if for whatever reason you decide to drink during dry January, don't feel like this is a binary thing and you've completely failed. Just go back the next day and stop drinking, and like make it dry January-ish, where you are abstaining most of the month if you just can't do it. But I'm telling you, if you commit to it, you can do it. just take one day at a time. And I think at the end of the month, you'll look back and realize what you accomplished and how good you feel.
I did that last year. I called it Damp January. I made it like 15 days and I failed, but I didn't want to quit on the journey. So are you doing dry January? Well, I'm doing Damp January.
Yeah.
I had a day where I had some dry, because you should be rewarded for reducing your consumption by a massive percentage over the course of a month, right? You shouldn't feel it's a failure.
Yeah, I know you were mentioning sleep. I know my wife will be happy because I snore like mad when, I have a couple of beers. So I'm sure she'll be a lot happier with me at the end of the month.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah. Back to the tap room here before we close. I mentioned earlier, you guys have everything here. Your outdoor area is great, fire pits, bags. But one thing I noticed on the website, you got these giant tubs of ice. What's that about?
So we wanted to make this brewery an extension of ourselves and what we were into. And one of the things over the last probably 5 years or so is our cold plunges. And cold plunges create this dopamine effect that you'd otherwise get maybe from alcohol or from something else, except it's super healthy. I know it sounds kind of crazy too, but
I'm thinking, shouldn't the beer be on ice and not the customer?
There you go. Both.
Yeah.
So it's doing something hard, right? Like I think we've conditioned ourselves to live in comfort a little too much, and there's nothing easy about even thinking about jumping in cold ice, especially in the winter. So we'll have sessions here with cold plunges, including Wim Hof breathing. Wim Hof is a guy out of Poland who kind of created this movement on how to relax in cold climate, but it also parallels into life, because a lot of us will find ourselves in times of like massive stress. And if you're able to control your breathing and you're able to employ some of these techniques that you learn by going in the cold plunge, you're able to cope with stress in a different way. And there's a lot to learn from that. So not only do you have to put yourself in a very uncomfortable position, but when you're in there, as soon as you get in that tub, your whole body's screaming at you, like, get me out of here. And it's easy to get out, but once you sit and relax in it, it's a metaphor for life, right? You could just fight something and be super tense, but if you just kind of let it be and you just think about it, all of a sudden it becomes easier and you view it in a different way. So it's something that we've had here. The first weekend we opened, we had a Wim Hof cold plunge breathing class, and over the course of 2023, we've probably had 200 people go in it. And of those 200 people, the goal is to stay in it for 2 minutes.
Okay.
It's about 35, 40 degrees. I know that sounds nuts. Yeah. And only 2 people out of the 200 or so got out early. So they made it for at least a minute.
Okay.
So it's pretty incredible. And when you're around others that do it, you kind of feel this sense of obligation that you should do it as well, the whole 2 minutes. And not one person at the end of it regrets it. They're all like, I want to do more of it.
Yeah.
And some people end up buying cold plunges for their house. But from Andrew Huberman to many doctors out there much smarter than me, attest to the just dramatic benefits that it can have.
There's no one getting out like talking about shrinkage or anything like that.
I'm sure there is, but you know that some of the strongest people that go in it are older females. Like they'll jump in there, and I think their mindset is such that they know they're going to commit to the 2 minutes, and they don't get out.
Yeah, they deal with us for the rest of their lives.
Exactly.
What's 2 minutes in ice? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I talked about how much I like Go Brewing. I want you to try it for yourself. Thankfully, these gentlemen are hooking us up with the gift card. So I want to thank you for that. Send me an email, dave@beerinfront.com. Put Go in the subject line. I'll pick a winner at random, and then Joe and Matt will send you out a gift card so you could try Go Brewing for yourself. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Dave, I have to say, like, after that first podcast, I could generally see your attitude toward NA beer change a bit.
Yeah.
And you were promoting it, and you're the way you're supporting Go and these local breweries is incredible. So I want to thank you a lot for your mission and everything you're doing.
No problem. It's all, like you mentioned, rising tide lifts all boats. I don't try to talk bad about other breweries. Sometimes there's something I may not like. I just won't mention them. The more people that get out and enjoy, whether it's Go, whether it's, another brewery down the street from me, that's good for everybody. So I appreciate the kind words. And thank you, gentlemen, for having me here. It's been a lot of fun. This is a great location. Once again, if you're in the Naperville area, you need to go to 1655 Quincy. You're open Wednesday through Sunday?
Correct.
Okay, so Wednesday through Sunday. So head over to Go Brewing. Great tap room. The beers are all fantastic. And have the sour and thank me for it later. Guys, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, the beer I'm going to have now from Go is not just another story double IPA. This has Simcoe, Mosaic, and Citra hops. 10% of the proceeds for this beer will go directly to the Institute of Nonviolence, Chicago. I'm really stoked about having this one after hearing Joe talk about it. I've heard about this one. I haven't had it yet, so let's crack it open. Looks good. Has that nice, I think they use caramel malts in here. It's a little darker than your typical IPA, but it looks very nice. Yeah, the hops are there. You really get that hop aroma. It smells fantastic. That's good. Nice. They don't list the IBUs on this, but you definitely get the bitterness there, and it's more like old school IPA where that bitterness hits you at the end on the back of your tongue. So if you're a fan of old school IPAs, I think this will be right up your alley. Yeah, that's really good. Get all of the flavors from the hops, little sweetness from the malt, but not a lot. The hops are, I think, the big story with this one. I like it. I think this is good. For my dry January, I'm going to have to run over to the store and pick up a couple 6-packs of this because I think this is good. So if you want a beer, if you want an IPA that's non-alcoholic, I would definitely search this one out from Go Brewing. It's called Not Just Another Story Double IPA. I think it's really good. I think you should put this one in the carts. Cheers. All right, that's going to wrap things up for this edition of Beer in Front. I thank you very much for listening. And once again to Joe and Matt over at Go Brewing. I'll include the link in the show notes if you want to sign up for the Go Brewing Dry January Challenge. Don't forget, send me an email at dave@beerinfront.com with Go in the subject line. By Monday, January 8th at midnight, I'll pick a winner for a Go Brewing gift card so you could try the beer from Go for yourself. Big thank you to Joe for agreeing to do this for the listeners. I'll update my website, beerinfront.com, throughout the month on any weight loss, sleep data, and overall health as well. Have a great week, everyone, and remember, sometimes the beer in front of you is the best one yet.